It's so good to be here Friday Night Live, and actually, I'm in the US, which is about doing things on the time in the US, Friday Night Live. So, Friday Night Live from Florida, here I am, Lady Lexi, and it's so good to see you. And it's a little bit weird because I know that over in Europe, it's morning, like right now. But they are used to me actually doing things on Eastern time. So, I'm good to go. And well, here in Florida, it's literally night. If we would go to LA, it's past midnight, half an hour now. So, also literally Friday Night Live. So, yeah, it's the first one where I can actually say this is live on Friday Night Live from the US. So that's kind of cool to actually say so. Now, today I am going to look a little bit back and a little bit forward to what's going to happen. Now, first of all, I'm here, like I said, in Florida, and it's a little bit getting used to how things work over here. Normally, I'm like in a hotel. Now I'm staying at friends, which of course is always fun, and I'm always very grateful to be able to do so. But it's also a little bit getting used to like, okay, what's their rhythm? What's my rhythm? How does that work together? So I learned so much in the last week. So going back to the first week that I arrived here, so I'm here like now for a week and a half. That was in LA, and I had training, so that was a whole different ball game. And well, the training took a lot of me, and of course, so did the traveling. I did a lot of walking, so I was kind of tired. And then when I flew over to Florida, it was a little bit like, but how am I going to get back into my rhythm? But I think I've managed to do so. I caught up. The blog post got out on Thursday instead of Monday. My training got done this day on Friday instead of Tuesday. And well, I'm posting again every day on Instagram Live. So I'm there again. But today I am going to talk about things that you can do in order to actually catch up with the things that you are doing and get back in the rhythm, get back in the game, get back into consistency. Now, if you can hear me very well, please let me know. I never know what the sound is like, especially now that I'm in a different place. Although the microphone actually showed that it was good to go. So here I am. Now, let's start with that first thing, catching up. So, the first thing I had to do in order to get back in the flow, in momentum, was to catch up with everything that I felt I still needed to do. So, I wrote this blog post about consistency because I wanted to know how can I get back in the flow. And I concluded a couple of things. Well, the first thing was, well, I need to know what it is I want to talk about or write about, depending on how you look at things. The second thing is it's about energy. It's nice to actually feel rested and feel up for it. And the third thing, and I keep forgetting the third thing. It's the same thing. I talked about it earlier, and I will get back to it. But I think that's the consistency itself. Oh, that's nice. Thank you for sharing with me that the sound is clear. That all always happens. That always happens. It's always nice to know. So yes. So knowing what you talk about, feeling energized to do so, and also knowing when can you do what, and that takes me straight to the second point, which is it's about making time. When do you have time to actually go do the stuff that you said you were going to do. And that's actually one of the 3 points that I was talking about in my blog post. So in this case, I'm, like I said, I'm with friends. I'm staying over at a different place. So it's a little bit like working together, especially when you both are literally working together, which also means being on the phone, talking, and what can and what can be done at which time. So we have one of our European viewers here, and she says, I've been up 3 hours now, and it's past midnight over here. Well, I bet that it's light, but over here it's literally dark. So, and that's what makes it so cool. So, um, but yes, also today I was like, oh, that's actually nice. I can do the Friday Night Live literally at Friday night and then live from Florida, which I think is well, I've never done my Friday Night Live from the US, let alone, well, it became a Sunday Night Live, as I can recollect, but from Florida, it even sounds nice. Friday Night Live with Lady Lexi from Florida. So, but I was like, okay, when is the best time? So I caught up with a lot of things. I also wanted to do some other things because I am going to open up the Chicago Courage Challenge for 3 more days. So if you want to join, be fast because now it's still free. But that meant that I had to do some things. So when it comes to the time and when there was time enough, it also had to do with, okay, what do I still need to do in order to change things just a little bit so I can announce that I'm going to do the Chicago Courage Challenge one more time, which means 3 days in a row I'll be going live. So that's basically this weekend up till Monday. So there you go. Now you know it. But yes, it took a little bit of planning like, hey, when am I going to do it? What does it look like? And so this time there's actually a countdown timer, which counts down till the time is up and over and done with. So it's nice. If I look back at last month before I left and starting to do the Chicago Courage Challenge and where I am now, so many things have changed. So that's good. And I also realized that the people who had signed up were like, can I please stay a little bit longer? So they hadn't been able to finish it. And I was like, okay, well, let me give them a chance to finish it. And I'll honestly say, when I started creating it, I had no clue about the amount of modules and lessons that I was going to do. I'd always had done a 3-day challenge, and all of a sudden it turned into a 7-day challenge. So officially, this is a 3-day challenge this time around, as in I'll be going live 3 days in a row, but there are still 7 modules. Well, actually, there are 9, but you know. And although I do not believe in perfection, I am going to improve things, so work on things, so it's going to get better and better and better. So, yes, totally looking forward to it. And I have to say, it's nice to actually experience that. I got that excitement back again. That I'm like, okay, I'm beginning to get used to circumstances, how things are going. I have been able to rest, and yes, I'm also looking forward to going to Chicago next week. And I'm not entirely sure when that's going to be, but it's going to happen. So that's a very good thing. Now, one of the other things that I realized, and of course I had heard people like Brendon Burchard and Evan Carmichael talk about it before, is work ahead of time. And Instagram gives us that possibility to schedule things ahead of time. I think Facebook does too. YouTube, yes, you can schedule the release of the video. And I think that in Kajabi, I can also schedule a publishing date. So there is a lot possible if needed to actually schedule things ahead of time. And now I'm like, you know what? This is not going to happen anymore. So it's like, okay, I said since December 1st, I've been out there every day on Instagram. At some point, I started to do the Friday Night Live every week. Group coaching training. Officially, it's every other week, like 2 weeks per month. But well, I usually do it weekly, exceptions being there. And it was weird to not be able to do it. So it feels so good to actually be doing it again and be in that rhythm. And especially because I experienced falling out of the rhythm 2 years ago. I was like, no, this is not going to happen. You have heard me talk about this many times. It's about what do we teach our subconscious mind? What do we teach ourselves? What are we telling ourselves? I mean, if we are not reliable, our brain knows, our subconscious mind knows, and the less reliable we are, the harder it's going to be to actually get back in the game. Now, I'm reading something here which is kind of exciting, which is I am pretty excited too because it seems that it might be happening. Now, I know what she's talking about, but until we know for certain, and that should be in a couple of weeks. So, looking forward to that one too. And that's what we're basically talking about is not just consistency, it's about not giving up. It's about tweaking and changing. What can you do in order to make things happen, as in being more prepared, as in doing all the things that you can do in order to make the most of it. And of course, things might not work out the way that you want them to, but at least it's about, okay, I gave it a try, I gave it my all, and well, if it doesn't happen this time around, then it's going to be there for the next time around. So, talking about that, it's about knowing what we want and when we want it to happen. So, of course, my Instagram posts are going to get out there like every day. That's the whole goal. I switch between posts, as in quotes, and videos or pictures. Sometimes there's actually a video behind the quote. So I play around a little bit with what you actually can see. But when you look at the overview, it's a checkerboard, and I think it's pretty cool. I once did it, then I stopped doing it, and I'm back at it again, and that feels so immensely good. And talking about the checkerboard, when I was working on getting the challenge once more out there, I now have learned to actually use that same principle of the checkerboard too. So you can see the dark blue background right now, and that's something that I use in all my posts, and I am using it on the website too. I mean, for those who have missed it, I like blue. Something with my hair and everything, and it gets back in every facet that you actually can see. So you can see the pinup girl. Sometimes people don't know what it is. Well, it's someone made a pinup girl, and she's got blue hair, and she is holding a crutch. Some people are like, what's that down there? Well, it's a crutch, and that stems back from the time that I had to walk with two crutches. Now, I'm not going to say I'll never walk with crutches again, because I do know there are some circumstances that I do need them. But for now, I'm good to go. I didn't take them with me over here, although I have to say that last week, for a moment, I was thinking I might need them. But no, I'm good to go again. So that's I'm very excited about that. But yes, it's so important when you do certain things that you know when you need to do them. What do you need to plan? What do you need to plan ahead of time in order to actually get things done and not having to be stressed about it? There's nothing more annoying and more likely to not succeed when you are stressing out. So let's be prepared, let's be relaxed, listen to meditation, and just do it in your own time and space. Now, getting back to the next one, don't give up. Don't give up. And you know, a couple of years ago, I gave up. I was with someone else in Chicago. I was with Chicky Joe in Chicago, and it was weird. We were finding our way together, sharing a room. We were supposed to go live together, and then she would be tired or I would be tired. And no, that didn't work out really well, and I stopped doing it altogether. Of course, this was not just related to me being in Chicago and having Chicky Joe over. It was also related to the other people who I used to go live with. So basically, every day of the week, there was someone in a group that we would go live with. So we each had our own show, and all of us stopped. Just all of us stopped, and it's not always easy to actually get out there and do the things and just share it and not have people in the background. It's always nice to have people in the background. But I believe, and that's something that Evan Carmichael told me, in case you're wondering, Evan Carmichael's the YouTube expert. He said there's always someone who's going to watch this at the time that they need it. And I totally believe that that is true. So I was like, okay, time to go on again. And actually, the Friday Night Live is about looking back on the past week. So today we're also going to look forward. But it's nice to actually be like, okay, so what have I done? What can I teach others about the things that I've done and what I've have experienced? And because I believe that it's important to be a role model for others. So one of the modules actually in the Chicago Coaching Challenge training is about the I, inspiration, Chicago. So there's the I in there. And that's not only inspiration and incentive, but it's also about being inspiring for others. So who is being inspired by you? And we may not be aware of this, but yes, we have a certain obligation to the younger ones out there, because the only way that we learn from one another is by watching what do other people do, talking how do other people work out. And if you are doubting about that, then just think back about the result of COVID. So a lot of young people, especially during COVID, couldn't socialize. The school was being done from home. There were online classes, but the usual interaction with other kids wasn't there at all. And that caused a lot of problems, as in, well, problems is a major word. Um, Probably there have been issues at home, especially people who were not used to being in one house together. Also, when houses were too small to actually start working there, when they were not equipped to actually work from. And getting back to the kids, no one had a break. Everyone was together. People had to figure out how does that work with making sure that our kids actually do their homework. But the lack of socializing, hanging out with their friends, learning from one another, and also from the students when we're talking about how to socialize with one another. I mean, that age when you're a teenager, when you're an adolescent, that's so important. And you can tell that a number of young ones out there, they didn't learn how to behave. So, and I don't mean to behave as in manners, but as in, okay, how can I get people to listen to me? And how can we interact in a better way? And that's, a lot of people, you see it nowadays more and more. And of course, that's also because of the IT. But yeah, it's normal to not greet one another anymore, but instead look at your screen, look at your phone. And yes, I'll honestly admit, when I'm walking outside, I'm usually also looking at my screen or screens because of Pokemon. But I also do look up when I know people are approaching, and then I will say hi. And that part of acknowledging one another and seeing one another, it seems to be over and done with. So, yes, it's so important to be that role model and inspire others and encouraging them to say hi to you as well. So here I am saying hi to you. Now let's see what else did I write down. So I wrote down that it's so important to keep on going, to keep on pushing, to not give up. And it's easy to actually say, I haven't done it for such a long time. Let's go, let's quit, let's not do it. In case you're wondering what I'm doing, there's a contact lens which is a little bit dry, and either I am going to keep on blinking or just drop in my eyes. And yes, there's there's a comment. It would be important to look away from the screen when walking outside. Yes, that's absolutely true. So getting back to not giving up, we already sort of talked about it, about the tweaking and the changing, about the scheduling ahead of time, about not being stressed out. But when you have a dream, and this might even be the most important lesson of today, but when you have a dream, please keep on going. Don't give up. Things are getting better and better and better and better, but sometimes it takes a long time to actually be able to see the fruits of your labor. That doesn't mean nothing is happening. It's like when you look at a seed in the ground, the seed is in the ground. We have no clue what's going on in the ground because we can see through the soil, but we might be quitting at some point when the roots are already forming. It's just that the leaves do not show just yet above the earth. So keep on going. You will always get better. You will always grow, even if it is because you are being consistent. And that's a very important lesson to yourself. And talking about lessons to yourself, how about the importance? You are telling yourself, I'm important enough to go do it. So it's about taking yourself and what you want to do seriously, getting that stuff out there and letting people know, hey, here I am, letting yourself know, here I am. And, I might not know how, but I am going to do it. I am going to make this happen. So, hence, don't give up, but keep on going, keep on pushing. And, well, if you are questioning it, go to the challenge, check it out, because the challenge, the Chicago Cars Challenge, is about taking things to the next level. So, no, it's not just about Chicago, even though I will be going to Chicago next week. It is an acronym for certain things which have to do with courage, which have to do with taking things to a higher level. It has to do with being inspirational and inspiring others. It has to do with accountability. Before that, we have to see from community and communication. It's about accountability versus responsibility. It's about groundwork, so doing what needs to be done. And last but not least, it's about that overview when you actually see, oh, this is what I've done and this is what I can do. But overall, it's about getting that message out there. What's your message? What do you want to get across? Do you want to leave legacy? What's that legacy that you want to leave? What is it that you want to be remembered for? And, well, even if it's not such a big thing as you want to be remembered for, there's always one thing that you really want to do, which is going to make you happier. So let's go work on that one. And then, last but not least, it's about enjoying stuff. And that is so immensely important, that you are proud of yourself for having done so. Hence, enjoying stuff. I mean, if you're doing it, then let yourself know, hey, well done, you've got two shoulders. It's also about giving yourself grace when things do not work out straight away, that you don't get mad at yourself, that you're not going to lash out at yourself, but instead you're going to say, well, you know what? Well done. I know it's not easy, but you're doing it. And that's when I was talking about my Instagram post, one of the things that I actually said was, this is not just about doing things daily, it is also about doing it on average daily. So normally I actually do it daily, I post it daily. But if for some reason I have missed a few days, I'm going to say, well, overall, I'm still posting daily, because I know there are days when I'm doing it several times. So, and it's the same actually with, and I've talked about this before, Duolingo. So Duolingo is where I learn how to speak Spanish in this case. And so Duolingo is to learn languages. It's nowadays also to learn how to do math and music, for instance. But primarily it's about how to speak certain languages. And, well, you have this streak that is ongoing. For me, it's over 950 days now. And, well, there is something which is called a streak freeze. And the streak freeze basically means that if you skip a day, you're not going to lose your entire, in my case, 950 days. But that they say, okay, you're not going to earn an extra day, but apart from that, you are doing it. So we want to make sure that you actually keep that number of days. And, well, that's a very good incentive, because if you were to have to start all over again, starting at day one, well, chances are that you are just going to quit doing it. Now, I'm not going to quit because I know why I'm doing it and I love it. But I have to say that ever since um, the little one of a friend of mine is also on Duolingo, I'm more consistent because I don't want to let her down. And, well, I guess that's also the fun thing when it comes to doing things together. So, all combined, I've given you a number of steps on how to get back to what it is that you want to do. Now, you have heard me say that next week I'll be in Chicago. With a little bit of luck, I can see how they are recording in the streets. And they is the cast from Chicago PD. I already took a glimpse and I know that stuff is going to be happening. I just don't know if I will be allowed to watch it from a distance. But well, you know, um, let's just go do it and we'll see how it's going to work out. And, apart from that, I do love Chicago. It's a really nice city. And I'll honestly say, I'll be so happy to be no longer somewhere where there are so many mosquitoes and other bugs which can bite me. So this is my life-saving thing. Yes, it's almost empty, and that says enough. So, but apart from that, it's I can find my way over there with the L trains. I know about bus passes, what I can do. I can actually choose myself where I want to go, as in which area I want to stay at. It gives so much freedom, and it's actually kind of nice. So yeah, it's a little bit twofold. Like, hey, am I going to stay in an area where friends are at, or am I going to stay in a location where I said I wanted to go to? Because well, it's going to be the third year in a row, and well, you know, I want to get that Chicago coaching group training out there, and the only way to do it is by being there, right? So having looked back at the past and also looking back to the future, I'm aware that right now it's about, yeah, well, actually, I'm halfway from being here. It feels like I'm still like in the first week, but that's not true. I'm actually halfway. And it's different. It's different from what I've experienced up till now. And what I mean is, every year I tend to go, and you know, the places, the locations where I might go, they vary a little bit, which is related to when and where there's training. And in this case, I'm starting and I'm finishing in LA because that's where the training is every first of the month. And after next month, October, it won't be in LA anymore. So that's going to be a major difference. But now I was like, yeah, I still want to do that. So it's always nice to come over to Florida. I always said it feels like home. Well, I'm starting to doubt it a little bit, yes, because of the humidity. Now that I've been in different parts of the US. Now, first of all, let me say, for me, it's important to be in a place where it's warm. It's good for my joints. So, no, I wouldn't be in Chicago around all year round because there's a ton of snow. But say, for instance, California, LA, San Diego, those are nice places to be as well. So, there's something for all the locations to say, okay, that's nice, that's not nice. And of course, every time I'm here, I'm learning stuff again. I'm learning stuff about the country, how certain things work. I've heard amounts when it came to insurance and other things that I'm like, ooh, that is expensive. There are a lot of things which are a lot cheaper compared to where I come from, but hearing about a lot of other things which are so insanely expensive that makes you think about certain things. And I have to say, and I don't recall that I normally did this, I've actually been keeping track on what's going on in my own country, especially since we have new government. And well, they are going to present what they're going to do, so what the plans are. And I was like, okay, I'm curious. And besides that, of course, there are so many other things going on in the world. So that was important to keep track of that too. So the whole vibe of being here compared to the other years is so different. The other years was about, well, it was basically about training, and it was also about, I would almost say, surviving. And what I mean by that is when I went here 2018 and 19, 2018, I was about to have surgery when I returned. And in 2019, I just had surgery. Now, 2020, for those who remember, COVID hit. I was literally in March over here. I think I was in LA actually. And everybody said, "What do you think you're going to get home?" And it was like, "Well, if I'm not going to get home, then I'll stay here." But of course, it was about going home. And I've been reminiscing about this a little bit with other people when I was at the various airports. I mean, I've seen four just last week. And I I was thinking back at that moment when everything was so silent. Yes, there were a few people in Starbucks, I mean staff. There were a few people at the airport. Basically, that was like Hudson's, where you can get books and other stuff, and pencils and chargers. There's a whole lot of things that you can get there, including sweaters and other than that, it was empty. I was on red eye, and I think there were like 9 people, including staff. It was so weird. Now, of course, I've been traveling ever since. I mean, 2022, I went to Chicago with Cheeky Joe, which was really cool. We got to see the actors, which was amazing. And then last year, I had training again, combined that with also going to Chicago, so that was not only with Cheeky Joe. And in case you're wondering, who is Cheeky Joe? Well, she is running the UK fan club from the one who plays Sergeant Voight in Chicago PD, which is Jason Begay. And well, we got to talk, and I was like, "Well, you need to see Chicago. I mean, you're talking about Chicago PD, so it makes sense that you go there." And we actually had the pleasure of having her daughter, which I call me anything, to join us. So that was really nice. So this year I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And it's kind of weird when you do certain things at a certain time in the year to not do them this time around. And it was like, okay, yes, I want to go there because of the training of Brandon Burchard, which is called Ultra. But there was something else too. There was coaching summit, and I remember how important that coaching summit was for me last year. So many things have changed. Now, was it as impactful this time around as last time? I don't think so. But there was an importance on a very different level, which was for me the acknowledgement like I'm on the right path with the things that I'm doing. You know, Brendan has this thing called Daily Fire. In case you want to sign up, I'll make sure that I'll put a link in there. If it's not there, just, say, "Hey, Lexi, you were saying that we could sign up for Growth Day." As far as I can tell, he always has like that you can be part of it for free for a week or 2 weeks or maybe for a month. But apart from that, with his Daily Fire, he speaks to people about consistency, about not giving up, about, doing the thing that you want to do, about taking things to a higher level. And of course, I won't be the only one who feels this way, but it's like he's speaking to me. Like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, that thing that I was writing about. Oh, that's funny. Now you're talking about it." And that makes such a big difference. But I've got one goal. That's to be on his stage, actually. So I'm like, whatever is going to happen, I'm not going to give up. I'm gonna go do it. And yes, this entire month has been dedicated to taking things to the next level, taking things to the higher level, despite whatever might be going on. And well, you know, if you want to take things to a higher level, like I said, go join the Chicago Courage Challenge. I mean, it's for free now. It's not like it's going to be a lot of work. I mean, all you have to do is go to ladylexa.com/CCCF in capitals, and that's it. I mean, how much more difficult is it going to be? I know it was difficult in the beginning, and I know who to thank for it. That's she stuck around. Actually, a couple of people stuck around, so that's good. But it's all about learning. And I'm the first one to admit that certain things might not go the way you want them to straight away. But I'm also the first one to say, but if you keep on trying, if you keep on going, you will see that improvement. You will get there at some point. And well, it might not be like this straight away, but even when you take one step at a time, then at some point, you get there too. So when I was at Brendan, I was looking at what he was writing down, and at some point I was like, oh, that's cool. The end point where we want to be is making that into a star. And well, I've got all these stars right here, and the stars basically represent success. And that's what I want for you too. I want you to experience that success. But we can visualize all we want, which most people don't do. We can talk about things all we want, which most people also don't do. But the most important thing always remains taking action. And the talking and the visualizing and the meditation, which is also included in the course, well, that helps us to get back in the flow, to create momentum. Because that's one of the most important things that we need to do. We need to be able to create momentum. And well, my challenge this week was, I've been here many times, and I was basically used to my friends working, honestly say it the way it was. And well, them being here, it was all of a sudden like, oh, hmm, okay, how am I going to do this? And it was really finding my way in new circumstances. So on one hand, it was kind of familiar, but on the other hand, I haven't been outside every day. I mean, of course, I can walk, but I like to walk with purpose. Fortunately for me, uh, Pokemon Go gave me purpose. Unfortunately for me, they also took it away again. So normally you have gyms you can go to, certain locations you can go to, Pokestops, and they had apparently set up a temporary Pokestop. And well, I tried to actually reach the others by foot. That's not easy, so I was like, okay, let's not do it. And well, the weather here, it's going to be rainy season, if correct. I think that normally they refer to it as hurricane season, especially in the next month. And you know, it's the going outside and then instantly getting wet. That I was like, well, you know what? I'd rather stay inside where there's air conditioning and I can also do my things. But what I learned was that I needed to learn and remind myself of being focused. So it's not like I hadn't been writing on here, I've been writing every day. And one of the things that I learned from Brendan and from one of his coaches, is the importance to write things down, especially when you're a little lost. Just write down what it is that you are questioning, what you have doubts about. And I was like, okay, I need to get that out there. I need to write about it. So I did. So it was getting back up, not achieving it, and getting back up again, not achieving it, and again doing it until I could do it. And the cool thing is, and I notice this every time around, that whenever I do so, there's this energy. So Brendan has this saying, I think he didn't come up with it, someone else did. It's the power plant doesn't have energy, it generates energy, and we actually help it generate energy. And that's the whole thing. It's about what do you do in order to feel alive, to feel like, yes, I'm doing it, to feel proud of yourself, to be able to give yourself grace because it didn't actually quite work out the way you wanted to. So, no, I'm not going for perfection anymore, the nice round circle, but I am going for tweaking and changing, improving things, holding on till that one thing is an enormous success. So basically, I'm still working on the Chicago Courage Challenge. And like I said, for a few days, it's going to be open again. You can register and you'll be able to look at things for free. But I will also say that after Tuesday, probably when I'm in Chicago or on my way to Chicago, it's going to be over and done with. And then the only focus that's going to be there is about whether or not you want to join me during the group coaching trip, which of course would be really cool. You get to see me live, as in person, and it's going to be a mixture of showing you around in the city, but also working with you and doing one-on-one coaching training. Because what I believe, and I've talked with a lot of people about this, especially last week during the coaching summit, what a lot of people don't realize is, of course, it's nice to be close to a training. That means that you basically can go on living your normal life. You can sleep at home, you can have dinner with your kids or not. But a lot of things stay the same. But the moment that you actually get away and you go to a different environment, that's when you get to learn stuff because you're out of your comfort zone, but you're also not pulled back in the normal routine. And when you want to change things, you want to be away from that routine because that routine might be keeping you stuck. That afterwards you're going to say, well, actually, this routine does work very well. That's a whole different ball game. But this is about experimenting, about trying new things. And that's why I'm so excited to be in Chicago again, you know, exploring the city. But, it's also my goal to start that group coaching training, taking people to different places. And, you know, the moment that I can get that group to work together, that's going to be so amazing. I already can tell that group coaching training is something that I love, but actually being able to do it also with people who want to take their life and their business to the higher level, well, you know, I know that a lot of people out there actually want it, but they don't feel like they have the support. They feel like they're lacking stuff, especially accountability partners. Now, the one thing I want to say about accountability partners is in the end, it comes down to your decision. You cannot say, I didn't do it because of other people. But you can say, I did do it and I'm proud of myself because I did it. But yes, it's always nice when there are people out there and you can, just talk to them a little bit about, hey, what's been going on? Are things going the way they should? And having said so, I do feel a little bit guilty, ashamed. I'm not certain how to express it. But yes, there is a friend I normally see every week, and because of the time difference, every time that I've done my coaching calls and all the other stuff, then it's actually evening here, which means it's midnight over in the Netherlands, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm too late. I should have called her earlier. So I'm going to make up for that one. That's one thing that I know for certain. Well, anyway, think about what it is that you want to take to the next level, and how does consistency play a part in this? What do you need to tweak and change in order to improve things? That's something that I want you to think about, because it's so important to actually be focused on something, know what it is you want to work towards. And maybe certain things are very time bound, and you cannot do that one thing specifically. What you still can do is write about it, you can talk about it, and you can visualize it. You can take action to make the circumstances around that whole thing a little bit better. So, taking it to the next level. Now, having said so, if you want to sign up for the Chicago Courage Coaching Challenge, go to ladylexi.com/CCCF, so in capitals, Chicago Courage Challenge, and then the F is for free, which is for just a few more days, and then it's going to go back up. And well, if you're one of those people who say, well, I heard what you said about taking things to the next level, especially when it comes to being on my own, being a solopreneur, or, well, I do have my own company, but you know, we don't have that many people. And well, I thought I knew how to communicate about certain things, but for some reason, they don't seem to hear me. Well, let's talk about it and see how things can be changed. So, if you are interested in doing so, there is going to be a program which is solely focused on taking things to the next level in your personal life. But there's also an additional program which is related to being a business owner and doing things so not only the company provides from it, and I mean the stockholders, but that in on the long term everyone provides. And when I talk about benefits, it's also about the employee who sees, oh, you look at me in a different way, that's cool. And yeah, it would be nice to do that too, on top of what someone is doing, and maybe they can get some time off for it. But it's about learning, about taking things to the next level, and on all the layers through the organization. But yes, it starts with your personal life. And a lot of people, especially solopreneurs or entrepreneurs, they have this tendency to, you know, do all that stuff that's needed for the business when things are hard at home. But let's not run away from what's going on. Let's not run away from what's needed, but instead think about, why am I experiencing this right now? And yes, I've asked myself that question numerous times last week and this week, but I do know it's not just about helping out someone else, it's also about learning to set those boundaries and figuring out how can I keep on going. So basically about consistency. Well, if you want to sign up, then you know where to find me, ladylexi.com/CCCF. If you want to sign up for the group coaching trip, then I'll make sure that there's a description in the link. There's a link in the description. And I'm going to finish with something that is being said here. I am working so hard to get on a higher level. And as long as we do it one step at a time, and just it might not be easy, but as long as we remain consistent, you are going to experience such a big difference. So make sure that you keep on working on it. If you want a little bit of help, make sure that you register for the group coaching training. And remember that if you sign up at latelex.com/tccf, that you also have the possibility to have a free coaching call. Well, that's it for now. I'm going to wish you a good night. If it's already morning, then I'm going to wish you a very happy weekend, and I will talk to you soon again.